Jaya Dvaita Chandra Jaya Gaura Bhaktavinda. Om Vishnu Padaya Krishna Prasada Bhutale. Srimate Bhaktivedanta Swami Niti Namane. Namaste Saraswati Deve Gauravani Pracharine. Nirvishesha Shunyavadi Pashatade Shitane. Yeah, so we are reading from Sri Chaitanya Charitamrita, translations and purports by His Divine Grace A.C. Bhaktivedanta Swami Srila Prabhupada Ki Jai. And we're doing chapter 5, the glories of Lord Nityananda Balaram, starting from which number?
133, I think.
133?
Yes.
133. Okay, good. Thank you. Ataiva Shri Krishna Chaitanya Gosai Sarva Avatara Lila Kari Sabare Dekari. Therefore, Lord Chaitanya Mahaprabhu has exhibited to everyone all the pastimes of all the various incarnations. I was saying that, right? Having the different scriptures that we have recorded biographies of Chaitanya Mahaprabhu, we have several instances where Lord Chaitanya is exhibiting the forms of different incarnations. Text 134. Erupe Nityananda Ananta Prakasha Devave Kahe Muni Chaitanya Dasa. You want to read, Hannah?
Thus, Lord Nityananda has unlimited incarnations. In transcendental emotion, he calls himself a servant of Lord Chaitanya.
Yeah, so we're talking about how wonderful Lord Nityananda is, that he's the source of all these different incarnations and Vishnus and all the creation and everything comes from him. And he's also the personal paraphernalia of the Lord, and he's Anantashesh who's holding up the universe. He's both Karnadakshaya Vishnu, who expands into Garbhodakshaya Vishnu and lies down in the ocean of milk, and he's also the serpent bed that Anantashesh, Garbhodakshaya Vishnu lies on. He's basically like a lot. And yet, he considers himself a servant of Lord Chaitanya. That's how great Lord Chaitanya is. Kabu Guru Kabu Saka Kabu Britya Lila Urvayena Tina Bhave Vraje Kaila Kaila. Lavanga? You got it there? 135?
You froze up a little bit. Whose turn is it?
What's that?
You froze up a little bit.
Oh, I did? Oh, sorry.
Whose turn is it?
Yeah. Do you want to read Lavanga? Text 135 translation?
Oh, yeah, sure. Sometimes he serves Lord Chaitanya as his guru, sometimes as his friend, and sometimes as his servant, just as Lord Balaram played with Lord Krishna in these three different moods in Braja.
Yeah, very sweet. So, of course, Lord Nityananda is Balaram. That's this chapter, the glories of Nityananda Balaram. So sometimes Lord Balaram in Braj, he acts like a guru to Krishna, and he tells him, Krishna, don't eat dirt. That's bad for you. He tells him, Krishna, don't go there. Right? So sometimes he gives some advice to Krishna. And sometimes he's his friend, where they just play together. Like when they're killing Dhenukasur and Nutalavam, they're just both there and they're just getting the donkeys and whirling them around, and they're just having a good old time. They're wrestling, playing other games. And sometimes Lord Balaram is Krishna's servant, that Lord Balaram will, do things. Maybe he'll fan him or massage his feet or something like that. So they have different moods depending on the situation. Their relationship is very dynamic. Text 136. Vrishahana Krishna Sane Matta Mati Rana Kabu Krishna Kare Tanra Pada Sambhana. Nikesh.
Playing like a bull, Lord Balaram fights with Krishna head to head, and sometimes Lord Krishna massages the feet of Lord Balaram.
Nice. Yeah. Can you see? Just visualize the two of them, right? Both with their heads down and with their heads butting against each other, one trying to push the other one back. Other boys would play like that. Apana ke bitya kari Krishna Prabhu jane, Krishna kalara kala apana ke mane. He considers himself a servant and knows Krishna to be his master. Thus, he regards himself as a fragment of his plenary portion. Yeah, so sometimes Prabhupada would say that Krishna is the supreme personality of Godhead, and Lord Balaram is the supreme personality of servitor Godhead. He's also the supreme personality of Godhead, but he considers himself to be the servant of Krishna. Vishayamana nardanto yuyudate parasparam anukritya rutajantums cheratu prakrito yata. Back to you, Hannah.
Acting just like ordinary boys, they played like roaring bulls as they fought each other, and they imitated the calls of various animals.
That's quotation from Srimad Bhagavatam. Kvachit krida parishrantam upotsango pabarhanam swayam vishramayapyayam padasambhahanadibi. Vanga.
Sometimes when Lord Krishna's elder brother, Lord Balaram, felt tired after playing and lay his head on the lap of a cowherd boy, Lord Krishna himself served him by massaging his feet.
Very sweet. Kayam vakuta ayata daiviva naryatusari Rayo mayastu me bhartur nanyame divin mohini. Nikesh?
Who is this mystic power and where has she come from? Is she a demigod or a demoness? She must be the illusory energy of my master, Lord Krishna, for who else can bewilder me? Purport: the playful pastime of the Lord caused suspicion in the mind of Lord Brahma, and therefore Lord Brahma, to test Krishna's lordship, stole all the Lord's calves and cowherd boys with his own mystic power. Sri Krishna responded, however, by replacing all the calves and boys in the field. Lord Balaram's thoughts of astonishment at such wonderful retaliation are recorded in this verse, Bhagavatam 10:13-37.
Yeah, so while this pastime was going on, a lot of wonderful things were happening because Krishna Lord Brahma stole the cowherd boys and calves and he put them in a cave into a mystic sleep. And then Krishna said, all right, this is not going to work. I can't go back to Vrindavan alone. What's everyone going to say? All the mothers are going to be in so much anxiety. The cows are going to also be crying for their calves. I'm going to be in big trouble for losing everyone. So he immediately expanded himself into all the calves and all of the boys. And everything was going on just as it always did, except that they were all, direct expansions of Krishna. So all the cowherd women got the pleasure of having Krishna as their sons. All the cows got the pleasure of having Krishna as their calves, which was actually their desire. So Krishna fulfilled all the desires of all the mothers during that wonderful year. And of course, people were acting differently during that year. Like the cows, they were going crazy about their calves. They were like bolting down from the top of the hill and leaving their newborn calves to get to the older ones. And all the cowherd men were like, what the heck is going on? This is so abnormal. And the mothers of the boys were being so like lavishing their sons with affection and always wanting to just put them on their lap and feed them their breast milk, even though the boys were already, not babies anymore. And everyone was like, and even Balaram was like, what is going on? Everybody's acting so strangely this year. And then finally he's like, this has to be Krishna's illusory energy because there's nothing else that could confuse even me. Hannah?
So sometimes we hear that the residents of Vrindavan, they know like Vedic principles, like they like sometimes will worship the demigods and they know like philosophy about like So I mean, anyways, my question is when when that happened, for example, and the mothers felt very affectionate towards their sons, because they know Vedic philosophy, do they ever feel like, oh, I should not be so attached to my son or anything like that?
No, the Brajavasis don't have those hang-ups.
It doesn't even enter into their mind.
No. No, they're very simple village people. They act out of love.
But
And
sometimes Krishna will like say to the gopis like, "Oh, you should practice detachment and give me all your yogurt and butter." So like he knows like something a little bit about detachment and like they have that, but they don't feel like guilt towards being overly affectionate towards each other or being like,
whenever Krishna tells them to be detached, they're just like, get out of here. Like, do you not know who you're talking to? You know, we are not philosophers. We're not Brahmins. We're not Gyanis. We are simple coward people. And, you know, we act with our hearts. Yeah. Lavanga.
When Anna's saying it, it reminds me of that one time. There's this one pastime where Krishna tries to tell the gopis that he is Lord Ram, and they're just like, "Yeah, right." You know, like, you know, they're not going for it. But also,
Yeah.
I was thinking because this they're mentioning this pastime about Lord Brahma and how Krishna replaced all the cowherd boys and calves. And it made me think about how Krishna never does just one thing at a time. Like he's teaching Lord Brahma something, but at the same time, he's fulfilling the desires of the Vrajvasis to like love him in this relationship of um of paternal rus. What the Sanskrit is giving me, Vatsal Rus.
Yeah.
And so, anyway, I was just reflecting on that, how Krishna is really doing more than one thing at a time here.
Yeah. Yeah. Krishna's very efficient. He's good at, what do they say? Feeding two birds with one scone. Text 141. This is a long one. Yasyangri panka jarajo kilaloka palar molyutta mardritamupasita tirta tirtam Brahma bhavoham api yasya kalakalaya Shrishchodvahema chiram asya nripasanam kva. We just read. Oh, that was Nikesh. What? Oh, Divya, would you like to read? Okay, I'll read. What is the value of a throne to Lord Krishna? The masters of the various planetary systems accept the dust of his lotus feet on their crowned heads. That dust makes the holy places sacred, and even Lord Brahma, Lord Shiva, Lakshmi, and I myself, who are all portions of his plenary portion, eternally carry that dust on our heads. Report. When the Kauravas, to flatter Baladev so that he would become their ally, spoke ill of Sri Krishna, Lord Balaram became angry and spoke this verse. Yeah, so yeah, Balaram had some affection for Duryodhana because he, we're in chapter 5, text 141. Because he taught he taught Duryodhana how to fight with a club. Lord Balaram was very expert at club fighting. So he taught that skill to Duryodhana, and Duryodhana was a very good student. So whenever a teacher, and I know this from being a teacher, whenever a teacher has a very good student, even if that student misbehaves outside of class or has some, character flaws that drive everybody else nuts, but if that student is very good in your class, like if they do their homework, they come on time, they're always there, they greet you with a smile, they do well on their things, they take the class very seriously, then, it's just natural that you're going to develop a very affectionate relationship with the student, which is going to cause you to overlook all the other things. I know I had this student in my class, and she, this was in Mayapur. So she was 16 years old or something, high school girl, and she was in my English class. She was also in my Bhakti Shastra class, and she just she was great. She was fantastic. She was always there. She loved me to bits. She would do anything I said. And, she did great in all of her, assignments and everything like that. And sometimes people would complain to me because she had a boyfriend and she would be seen like hopping on the back of her boyfriend's motorcycle and riding off into the sunset with him. And, in Mayapur, that was not cool. So, in the devotee community, very conservative. So they would complain to me, oh, this girl, you're her teacher. What is going on? You should talk to her. And even from the devotees who deal with foreigners and their visas and stuff, because she was from another country, and they were like, should we do with this girl? Should we renew her visa? I was like, look, this girl is amazing. She is one of my best students. She's always on time. She's so respectful. Her behavior in school is exemplary. And I was just glorifying her all over the place. And everyone was like, oh, that's so nice. All right, well, we'll give her visa and everything. And we'll just have a more balanced view of her now that you've said that. So I literally could not say a bad thing about her, because she had pleased me so much by her attitude and her hard work in my class. So the same thing, like Balaram, I totally get it, that even though Duryodhana was an evil rook, he was terrible. And he was, everything about him. But because he was such a good student, Lord Balaram would support him, and Lord Balaram would stand up for him. And the Kauravas knew that. So they were always trying to get Balaram to be on their side. But when it came time, when the Kauravas said something bad about Krishna, who was definitely going to be on the opposing side, they tried to get Balaram to, take a stand for them. And he was just like, I am not going to say something against Krishna. So then he's like, yeah, because one of the complaints that they had against, not complaints, but the sort of derogatory comments they made is that, oh, this Krishna, he's a Yadu, he can never become a king. What good is he? He's inferior. The Yadu dynasty is inferior to the Kuru dynasty, and so he can never have a throne or something. So then Balaram's like, what's the value of a throne? He doesn't need a throne in this world. The demigods, who are the masters of the heavenly planets, are putting the dust of his lotus feet on their crowned heads. It was just like, forget it. The dust from his feet makes the holy places sacred. And even I, put that dust on my head. So, don't try to make out Krishna to be inferior to anyone. He is the supreme. Hannah?
Is what you were saying about Balaram's feelings towards Duryodhana reminded me of also Lord Nityananda's mood towards Jagai and Madai. Remember when Lord Chaitanya wanted to chop off their head and got his Sankarshan disc?
Yeah.
Didn't Lord Nityananda stop him and say, "Not this is not what you came for"?
Yeah.
And I hear a lot that Lord Nityananda, like if Lord Chaitanya is the most merciful, actually even more merciful than Lord Chaitanya is Lord Nityananda.
Yeah. It's a little bit of a different situation since Jagai and Madai weren't very nice to Lord Nityananda. Their behavior wasn't very pleasing, right? They also insulted them and threatened them and physically hurt him. They hurt Lord Nityananda. They made his head bleed. So, yeah, but Lord Nityananda's mercy is like the next level. It wasn't that they had pleased him, and so he was forgiving, but he was just inconceivably merciful. That even after hurting him, he was still merciful. Jai, Lord Nityananda. Text 142. Ekale Ishvara Krishna Arasabhavritya Yare Yache Nachai Se Taiche Kare Nritya. This is a famous, this is an often quoted verse, especially the first line. When I read it, I was like, oh, Prabhupada would say that all the time. Ekale Ishvara Krishna Arasabhavritya. So, you want to read Pragati?
Lord Krishna alone is the supreme controller and all others are his servants. They dance as he makes them to do so. Make them do so.
Hmm. Yeah, so Krishna is the supreme controller. Everyone else is his servant, including the other incarnations. Matta Caitanya Gosai Ekale Ishvara Arasava Parishada Kehava Kinkara. I'm just going to go in the order on my screen here. Lavanga?
Thus, Lord Chaitanya is also the only controller. All others are his associates or servants.
So everything we say about Krishna here in terms of his position also applies to Lord Chaitanya because Lord Chaitanya is Krishna. So if Krishna is the only controller, Lord Chaitanya is also the Ekale Ishvara, only controller. Guru Varga Nityananda Advaita Acharya Shiva Sarya Yata Lagu Samaya Sabe Parishada Sabe Vilaya Sahaya Sabalana Nijakaya Sade Guraraya. Nikesh.
His elders such as Lord Nityananda, Advaita Acharya and Srivasa Thakura as well as his other devotees, whether his juniors, equals or superiors, are all his associates who help him in his pastimes. Lord Gauranga fulfills his aims with their help.
So everyone is Lord Chaitanya's servant. Sometimes some serve him as juniors, some serve him as equals, and some serve him as seniors. But even the seniors are his servants. Nityananda and Vetichai, Shivas Thakur, they were all older. They were all, Lord Nityananda was not that much older. Advaitachari was quite a bit older. Srivas, yeah. Srivas and Advaita were like the age of his father. And yet still they considered themselves the servants of Lord Chaitanya. Advaita Acharya Nityananda Dui Anga Dui Janalana Prabhur Yata Kichuranga. Divya, we are on text 146. Did you find?
Okay, perfect. Thank you. Sri Advaita Acharya and Srila Nityananda Prabhu, who are plenary parts of the Lord, are his principal associates. With these two, the Lord performs his pastimes in various ways.
So these are his Dui Anga, his two limbs. Anga means limb, like an arm. So his right arm was Lord Nityananda and his left arm was Advaita Acharya. And with those two arms, he performed so many pastimes. Yata Kichu Ranga. Ranga means playful activities. Play. Advaita Acharya Gosai Sakshat Ishvara Prabhu Guru Karimani Tinhata Kinkara. Who's next? Sneha?
Yeah, Lord Advaita Acharya is directly the Supreme Personality of Godhead. Although Lord Chaitanya accepts him as his preceptor, Advaita Acharya is a servant of Lord. Uh, Lord Chaitanya always offered respects to Advaita Prabhu as he would to his father because Advaita was even older than his father. Yet Advaita Prabhu always considered himself as a servant of Lord Chaitanya. Sri Advaita Prabhu and Ishvara Puri, Lord Chaitanya's spiritual master, were both disciples of Madhavendra Puri, who was also the spiritual master of Nityananda Prabhu. Thus, Advaita Prabhu, as Lord Chaitanya's spiritual uncle, was always to be respected because one should respect one's spiritual masters, god brothers, as one respects one's spiritual master. Because of all these considerations, Sri Advaita Prabhu was superior to Lord Chaitanya, yet Advaita Prabhu considered himself Lord Chaitanya's subordinate.
Yeah, very interesting, right? I was thinking about how, I have a friend in New Jersey. His name's Madan Gopal, and he was recently became a Diksha Guru in ISKCON, and all of his disciples are older than him. He's like my age, maybe a few years younger, and all of his disciples are older than him. Just thought it was interesting. So yeah, normally you would He only has like 3 disciples, I think, at this point. Because he just started initiating. But yeah, usually like, in the traditional Vedic culture, it's that your elders are superior. But then there are other, there's one place in the Srimad Bhagavatam where it was talking about what makes a person old. It said one thing is age, and then another thing is knowledge. So you can be old by age or you can be old by knowledge. So even a young person is an elder, in that sense superior, if they have transcendental knowledge, superior knowledge. Acharya Gosanira Tatvana Yaya Katana Krishna Avatari Yenho Tarila Bhuvana. We just read. Oh, that was Sneha. Okay, Prayushi, are you there?
Yes, Mataji. I cannot describe the truth of Advaita Acharya. He has delivered the entire world by making Lord Krishna descend.
Yeah, we're going to hear more about this, how it was Advaita Acharya who actually called Lord Chaitanya to come down. Yeah.
Who is Advaitacharya like in actual? How we say Lord? Is it Lord Brahma or
Mahavishnu.
Advaitacharya? Okay.
And he's also Lord Shiva. Nityananda Sarupa Purve Haya Lakshmana Lagu Bhrata Haya Kare Ramera Sevana. Lord Nityananda Swarup formerly appeared as Lakshman and served Lord Ramachandra as his younger brother. Among the sannyasis of the Shankara Sampradaya, there are different names for brahmacharis. Each sannyasi has some assistants known as brahmacharis, who are called by different names according to the names of the sannyasi. Among such brahmacharis, there are 4 names: Swarup, Ananda, Prakash, and Chaitanya. Nityananda Prabhu maintained himself as a brahmachari. He never took sannyas. As a brahmachari, he did get married though. As a brahmachari, his name was Nityananda Swarup, and therefore the sannyasi under whom he was living must have been from the tirthas or ashrams of the Shankara Sampradaya, because one of the names for the assistant brahmacharis of such a sannyasi is Swarup. Today I was reading Srimad Bhagavatam 10th canto, and I learned also that Krishna and Balaram took brahmachari vows. I thought that was very interesting. Krishna took a brahmachari vow. Well, I guess that refutes, a lot of places in India, they say that if you put on saffron, that means life, for life. And it's a vow of lifelong celibacy. But even Krishna took a brahmachari vow and he didn't maintain that for life. Or you could say, in one sense, he did. I mean, there's a whole pastime with Durvasa Muni. There was, what was it? I can't remember, but there was, I think the gopis had to cross a river.
Yamuna.
And they crossed the Yamuna. And then Krishna said that if you say that Krishna is an eternally a brahmachari, then by the strength of that true statement, you're going to be able to walk on water, something like that.
Yeah, Yamuna will give you way.
Yamuna will part and you'll be able to cross. And then they're like, we can't tell a lie. How are you a brahmachari? You're like the last person dancing with so many women, marrying so many. Well, I guess he didn't marry them yet, but yeah. And anyways, so then it's explained how Krishna is actually a brahmachari because all the gopis are all expansions of his own energies. So he actually doesn't, have any relationships with any other person. So there you go. Lavanga?
You just like, I guess, answered one of my lifelong questions, because I've had like friends that were brahmacharis in saffron, but when they went to India, like I saw them in white, and when they came back to the West, they put on saffron again. And then they told me, oh, that's because in India, if you like wear saffron, they think it's like a lifelong thing. And I was wondering, where did they get that from? See, I'm like,
Yeah, I'm sure they get it from somewhere, but I'm not sure where. But I mean, I don't know why they do that in ISKCON temples, because Prabhupada didn't do it. Prabhupada he encouraged his male disciples to take brahmacharya vows, and then he also got them married after a few years. So it's like normal brahmachari, grihastha, vanaprastha, sannyas. That's the varnashram system. That's the system that Krishna created. Is that in the beginning, and it talks about it in the Bhagavatam that, and this is from like ancient Vedic times, that there were these. There's one young man who went to live in the ashram of his guru. He took brahmachari, and then Prabhupada says in the purport there that after some time, after the period of training by the guru is over, then there's an option that you can stay with the guru and continue serving him and continue, your brahmachari vows, or you can go get married and take up a career and go back home to your family and live as a grihastha. So it's just not like what Prabhupada said or Prabhupada did or anything that has anything to do with Prabhupada standards. So yeah, it's kind of a little bit of a deviation actually. Okay, I saw hands going up and down.
Yeah, Mataji, I don't have a question, but I just wanted to add something.
Yeah.
While I met devotees from Voice, uh, which is in India, so devotees wear white because they know they want to take brahmacharya, but for a stipulated period of time, and then later on they are aiming to enter grahastha life. But devotees who are willing not to enter grahastha from like grahastha life, so they take up saffron. Like in
They can
India,
do, I mean,
I've
they
got
can
to
do
know
whatever they
that.
want. I'm just saying that that's not what Prabhupada did.
Oh,
So generally in ISKCON, we try to follow the example that was set by our founder Acharya, right? That's what Acharya means, is one who teaches by example. So when Prabhupada set standards on these things, then generally anyone who's in ISKCON would follow the standards set by the Acharya, ISKCON founder Acharya Prabhupada. Divya.
Sorry, I just missed Prabhupada Priya, what you were saying. What do we do in ISKCON that Prabhupada didn't do? The
Oh, in some temples in India, when men put on saffron, it means that they take it as a lifelong vow of celibacy, not just for
okay.
2 or 3 years or until their training's finished or until they decide to get married.
Okay, I see. Thank
And then
you.
they don't allow men to put on saffron unless unless they can commit to a lifelong vow.
Oh wow. That's
Yeah.
intense.
Hey, Pragati, can you run and get my thing? Because I think my battery will go dead. Yeah. It's stuck in the wall behind my desk. Okay, so text 150. Ramera charitra sabha dukera karana swatantra lilaya duka sahena lakshmana. Right, Hannah?
The activities of Lord Ram were full of suffering, but Lakshman, of his own accord, tolerated that suffering.
Yeah, when Lord Ramachandra was banished to the forest and all that, it was very hard for Lakshman. Lakshman was like, this is so wrong. But he couldn't do anything because he was the younger brother, and younger brother just has to obey the older brother. Nisheda karite nare yate chotabai. The chotabai, small brother. Monadhari rahe Lakshman mane dukapai. Nikesh?
As a younger brother, he could not stop Lord Rama from his resolution, and so he remained silent, although unhappy in his mind.
Krishna avatare jyeshta haila sevara karana. Krishna ke karaila nana sukha asvadana. Sneha?
Yeah. When Lord Krishna appeared, that's Balram, became his elder brother to serve him to his heart's content and make him enjoy all sorts of happiness.
Rama Lakshman Krishna Ramera Amsha Vishesha Avatara Kale Donhe Donhate Pravesha. Ayushi.
Sri Rama and Sri Lakshmana who are planetary positions of Lord Krishna and Lord Balarama respectively, entered into them at the time of Krishna's and Balarama's appearance. Purport: with reference to the Vishnu Dharmottara, the Laghu Bhagavatamrita explains that Rama is an incarnation of Vasudeva, Lakshmana is an incarnation of Shankarsana, Bharata is an incarnation of Pradyumna, and Shatrughna is an incarnation of Aniruddha. The Padma Purana describes that Ramachandra is Narayana and that Lakshmana, Bharata, and Shatrughna are respectively Shesha, Chakra, and Shankha, the conch shell in the hand of Narayana. In the Rama Gita of the Skanda Purana, Lakshmana, Bharata, and Shatrughna have been described as the triple attendants of Lord Rama.
That's interesting, right? So they come in different forms and different incarnations. So when Ram is Narayan, then Lakshman, Bharat, and Shatrughna are Shesha, Chakra, and Shankha. And when Krishna and Balaram appear, then Ram enters into Krishna and Lakshman enters into Balaram because they're expansions. So sometimes they expand into another form and sometimes they merge into the same form. Se amshalana jesta kanishta bhimana amsham shi rupe shastre karaye vyakyana. Divya?
Krishna and Balaram present themselves as younger brother and elder brother, but in the scriptures they are described as the original Supreme Personality of Godhead and his expansion.
Yeah. And this thing about how Lakshman wasn't happy as the younger brother. So then he was like, this is terrible. As a younger brother, I just have to tolerate everything. I can't say anything. I just have to be submissive and all that. So then Lakshman was like, in our next appearance, I'm coming as the older brother. So then he came as Lord Balaram. But even then, Lord Balaram, he didn't have much control over Krishna. Rama Dimurti Shukala Niyamena Tishtan Nanavatara Makarod Bhuvaneshu Kintu Krishna Swayam Samavavat Parama Pumanyo Govindamari Purusham Tamaham Bhajami. I worship Govinda, the primeval Lord, who by his various plenary portions appears in the world in different forms and incarnations, such as Lord Ram, but who personally appears in his supreme original form as Lord Krishna. So here we have it from the mouth of Lord Brahma, that Krishna is the original, the origin, and from him come different expanded incarnations like Lord Ram. Shri Caitanya say Krishna Nityananda Ram, Nityananda Purna Kare Chaitanya Rakam.
Lord Chaitanya is the same Lord Krishna, and Lord Nityananda is Lord Balram. Lord Nityananda fulfills all of Lord Chaitanya's desires.
Verses from Chaitanya Charitamrita, so ecstatic, right? Nityananda Mahima Sindhu Ananta Apara Ekakana Sparshi Matra Se Kripa Tanhara. Anna.
The ocean of Lord Nityananda's glories is infinite and unfathomable. Only by his mercy can I touch even a drop of it.
Yeah. Ara Eka Shuna Tanra Kripara Mahima Adama Jivara Chadaila Udvasima. Nikash.
Please listen to another glory of his mercy. He made a fallen living entity climb to the highest limit.
He's talking about himself here. Krishna's Kaviraj is calling himself a fallen living entity, and he's going to talk about how Lord Nityananda empowered him. This is actually the story that I was telling you the other day about his family and the conflict that happened in his family. Veda guhya kata e ayogya kahite, tapi kahiye tanra kripa prakashite. Divya?
Sorry. To
159.
disclose? Okay, thank you. To disclose, it is not proper, for it should be kept as confidential as the Vedas, yet I shall speak of it to make his mercy known to all.
Yeah, so he's a little shy to tell this story because it's talking about, you know, it could seem like he's advertising himself, that Lord Nityananda spoke to him in a dream. Mystical things happen. So usually devotees are a little shy too.
You gave us a spoiler.
Oh, whoops. Anyways, yeah, but he's a little shy. He's thinking this is not really appropriate for me to, it sounds a little bit like boasting, but I'm going to say it because I want everyone to understand how merciful Lord Nityananda is. Hannah?
Why does it say that the Vedas should be kept confidential?
Yeah, that's how it used to be, that Vedic knowledge was only, it was sort of the exclusive right of the Brahmins. And it could only be received through oral reception from Guru to bona fide disciple. So that's why it was little known. Up until the time of Lord Caitanya, basically.
So then
he
how did
broke
the
open.
rest so then how did the rest of society know how to behave and what to do?
Well, the Brahmins would teach.
Oh,
But yeah, other people, I mean, unless they were second initiated, see, the Brahmins, Kshatriyas, and Vaishyas could all become Dvijas. They could all get second initiation, and they could all, yeah, perhaps they could have access to the scriptures. Definitely the Brahmins had that access. But I mean, the Shudras weren't allowed to even touch the scriptures. So, yeah, it was quite confidential. And that's why when Lord Chaitanya started just giving, the Hare Krishna mantra, which was considered like a very confidential mantra, just like teaching it to people on the street, there's people even untouchables. So we're chanting the mantra and dancing in ecstasy. The Brahmins got super upset about it. They're like, what is he doing? He's spoiling the Hindu religion. And they went and complained to the Qazi. And that's why the Qazi sent his men and broke the Mridangas, because the Brahmins had like lodged this complaint. It wasn't that the Qazi was evil necessarily, wanted to stop the kirtan, but the Brahmins who were, the leaders of the Hindu society, they were saying that this person is destroying the Hindu religion. You need to stop him. Yeah. So, but Chaitanya is also famous as a great social reformer in that way.
but I have one more question. But didn't we
Yeah.
read the other day that the Lord, maybe we read it, but maybe I listened to it in a class. I do not remember. But we read that the Lord, like even when he's just like when he's descends into the world and he's like associating with so-called demons, they're actually all like spiritual personalities, that he doesn't touch material. He doesn't touch anything conditioned or material. So is it that even the Kazi and the so-called Brahmins that were lodging complaints against him, is that all like Leela and they're not actually like conditioned souls?
There were definitely conditioned souls in Lord Chaitanya's pastimes. Otherwise, it's just like a setup. It's not even real, right? I mean, how is Lord Chaitanya Patita Pavana if no one was Patita? How is he the savior of the fallen if no one was fallen? If everyone was just like liberated souls playing some role in a drama so that the Lord could look good, it doesn't. It's kind of like.
But isn't Jaga and
possible.
Madai, aren't Jaga and Madai Jai and Vijay?
That's what they say, yeah.
So then isn't that statement a little bit true? That he's not associating with real conditioned souls?
Maybe in that sense, in that case, yeah. I mean, then you could say also that, oh, Krishna, like the Lord doesn't actually kill demons, but because Hiranyakashipu is not a real demon, but there are real demons. Like Kamsa was a real demon, and those demons that went storming into Vrindavan, like Agasura and Putana, and they were real demons. So just because the incarnations of Jai and Vijay were not real demons doesn't mean that there weren't real demons.
So then what I heard in the class was then wrong.
I mean, it doesn't make sense to me. Let's just say that.
Okay.
How is Lord Chaitanya Patita Pavana if no one is Patita? It just doesn't make sense.
Mm-hmm.
He came in Kali Yuga to deliver the fallen souls. And he met hundreds and thousands of people. He traveled all over South India. He traveled like all the way from like Puri all the way down to Cape Cormoran and all the way back up and crossed over. And he gave hundreds and thousands of people the holy name. I'm pretty sure they all weren't like, liberated souls that had come down from, the spiritual world to be in his pastimes. I mean, even Krishna, when he is in Vrindavan and he's having he's dancing with the gopis, not all of those gopis are Nityasiddhas from the spiritual world. Some of them are, like people like us that have been in this world for many lifetimes, done a lot of nonsense, and took up bhakti and started practicing sadhana and chanting Hare Krishna and purified ourselves, and we had a desire to be in Krishna's Madhurya Leela, and took birth in a family of cowherd people and of Braj, where Krishna was performing his pastimes, and like that. So there's always a mix. When the Lord performs his pastimes, it's always a mix of eternally liberated souls and Nitya Siddhas and Nitya Badhas. But when it comes time to being a part of the Lord's pastimes, there's no difference. Because as soon as you get on the liberated stage, then it doesn't matter anymore. It doesn't matter how you got there, where you're coming from. You're there and that's it. Okay?
Yeah, nice question.
Yeah.
So when they say that Kamsa and Hiranyakashipu, they all were Jai and Vijay, and they were killed. So we say that okay, when Kamsa was killed, Hiranyakashipu was killed. They merged with the Brahmajyoti, and they don't go to the Krishna's abode. But Jai Vijay were the doorkeeper of Krishna's abode. So isn't it like they were supposed to go to the original position after their 3 lifetimes?
Yeah.
Then what happened? Like they go and merged with Krishna as demons, or
No, they didn't merge with Krishna. They wanted to take birth. They wanted to be a part of Caitanya Leela, so they came again. Okay. Where are we? Oh yeah, text 160. Ulasa upari lekon tomara prasada nityananda prabhu mora kshama aparada. Whose turn is it? Sneha?
Yeah, Prabhupada Priya. Can you tell me the number? Sorry.
160.
Yeah, 160. I'm there. Okay. O Lord Nityananda, I write of your mercy out of great exultation. Please forgive me for my offenses.
Avaduta Gosanira Eka Bitya Premadama Niniketana Ramadasa Hayatana Nama. Ayushi.
Lord Nityananda Prabhu had a servant named Sri Meenaketana Ramadasa, who was a reservoir of love.
Amara Alaya Ratra Sankirtana Tahate Ailaten Hopana Nimantrana. At my house there was Sankirtan day and night, and therefore he visited there, having been invited. Mahaprema Maya Tinha Vasila Angane Sakala Vaishnava Tanra Vadila Charane.
absorbed in emotional love, he sat in my courtyard, and all the Vaishnavas bowed down at his feet.
Namaskara Karite Kara Uparete Chari Preme Kare Vamsi Mare Kahake Chapari. Hannah?
In a joyful mood of love of God, he sometimes climbed upon the shoulder of someone offering obeisances, and sometimes he struck others with his flute or mildly slapped them. I got slapped once when offering obeisances. I was like brand new. I was so scared. I was like, and then everybody's
Wow,
like, "Don't worry, it's loving." I was like, "Is it?"
that's funny. So Lord Nityananda was an avadut, and so his disciples also had these behaviors. Ye nayana dekite ashuhaya maneyara sene treya vichina vahe ashudhara. Cash.
When someone saw the eyes of Minaketana Ramadasa, tears would automatically flow from his own eyes, for a constant shower of tears flowed from the eyes of Minaketana Ramadasa.
It was always an ecstasy. Kabu kona ange deki pulaka kadamba eka ange jagyatanra ara ange kampa sneha. Oh, Divya.
Sometimes there were eruptions of ecstasy like kadamba flowers on some parts of his body, and sometimes one limb would be stunned while another would be trembling.
This was a very, very ecstatic devotee. Nityananda Bodhi Abe Karena Hunkara Sahadeke Lokera Haya Maha Chamatkara. Hey, Sneha. 167.
Yes. Whenever he shouted aloud the name Nityananda, the people around him were filled with great wonder and astonishment.
Gunarnava Mishra Name Eka Vipra Arya Srimurti Nikate Tenho Kare Seva Karya. One respectable Brahmin named Sri Gunarnava Mishra was serving the deity. Anganeya Siya Tenho Nakaila Sambasa Tahadeki Kurdhar Hana Bale Ramadasa.
When Minketan was seated in the yard, this Brahmana did not offer him respect. Seeing this, Sri Ramdas became angry and spoke.
Eta Dvitiya Sita Ramaharshana Baladeva Dekiyena Kaila Pratyudgama. Hannah.
Here I find the second Roma Harshana Sutta, who did not stand to show honor when he saw Lord Balaram.
Yeah, so he's referring to this pastime from Srimad Bhagavatam when this devotee Roma Harshana Sutta was giving Bhagavatam class. He was sitting on the Vyasa-san, and he had an audience there of saints and sages that were listening. And then Lord Balaram, at that time, Lord Balaram was on pilgrimage. So he showed up there. Actually, it was in the forest of Naimisharanya. So Naimisharanya was a holy place, and Balaram was touring the holy places. And I think this was during the the Battle of Kurukshetra was going on. Balaram didn't want to take sides because he had that partiality for Duryodhana, and he also obviously loved Krishna. So he was like, I love people on both sides. I'm not going to take any sides. I'm out of here. So he decided to go on pilgrimage. And he was going to all the holy places, and he went to one Naimisharanya, and he showed up there, and he saw that Bhagavatam class was going on, where this Ramaharshana Sutta was speaking. And so when Balaram approached that assembly, then everybody stood up, and folded their hands and greeted Lord Balaram and paid their obeisances, except Ramaharshana. He just sat there, and he sat there very proudly, like, I am the speaker. I'm the guru here, and I'm not obliged to get up off the Vyasa-san because this is the seat of Vyas. And so Lord Balaram could tell that it was out of ego. It was like out of false pride that this Ramaharshana was not standing up. And so Lord Balaram did something very dainty. He pulled a piece of grass out of the ground, and he just threw it at him. And when the grass poked him, it killed him. So then now he's like dead on the Vyasa-san, and everybody's looking at Lord Balaram like, you just ended our Bhagavatam class very abruptly. And he was a Brahmin, you we just elected him. We just nominated him to be the speaker, thinking that he's the most scholarly and learned and advanced person amongst us. And you just murdered him. So Balaram was like, oh, well, sorry. If you want, I can bring him back to life. They said, no, you're the Lord. Whatever you do is good. So, we accept that he's not going to be speaking. But still, we need to.
Or breathing.
Life needs to go on. So we need a solution. And so what to do? And then Balaram said, well, he has a son, right? And then he said, yeah, he has a young son named Sutta Goswami. Ramaharshana's Sutta's son was named Sutta. They said, okay, well, Sutta can speak. So that's how Sutta Goswami got to be the speaker and the sages in the forest of Naimisharanya. He speaks much of our Srimad Bhagavatam recitation. So then after that, the sages were like, well, there's another thing, Balaram. You see, I mean, it's fine that you did this, but if anybody else did this, there would have to be some serious atonement. So, even though you don't need to perform any atonement, but we advise you to do so anyway for the sake of setting an example for others, that this kind of thing can't just happen. Otherwise people will say, well, Lord Balaram murdered the Bhagavatam speaker and there was no reaction. So, anybody can do that. If I don't like the speaker, I just kill him and choose another person. So then Balaram said, okay, you just tell me what I need to do. You choose the atonement and I'll do it. So he said, well, we think a nice atonement would be for you to visit all of the holy places of pilgrimage. Balaram said, okay. So he just, sorry. No, he was already doing that.
And donate some cows or something like that.
Anyways, they gave him a bunch of things. Whatever they told him to do, he did. But yeah, so this happened while he was already on pilgrimage. Anyways, so that's how Lord Balaram, and that's the story of how Lord Balaram, what happened. That Ramaharshana Sutta failed to offer respect to Lord Balaram, and so things didn't work out well. So when this, what's his name, Gunarnava Mishra, failed to offer respect to Miniketana Ram, Miniketana Ram became angry, not because he was disrespected, but because the reason that Gunarnava Mishra didn't respect him was because he didn't respect Nityananda, who is Balaram. So that's why he's saying this. He's saying that this person doesn't respect Lord Nityananda. He's just like Ramaharshana, who didn't respect Lord Balaram. And that's why he's disrespecting me, because I'm, follower of Lord Nityananda.
So esoteric. So beautiful. So beautiful.
Yeah. So, it's 5 o'clock.
Oh
no.
Maybe one more.
Okay, one more because it's Ita bali nachigaya karaye santosha Krishna karya kare viprana karila rosha. After saying this, he danced and sang to his heart's content, but the Brahmin did not become angry, for he was then serving Krishna. So Miniketana Ram said that, he made that comment, and then he just started singing and dancing. He wasn't really that disturbed. And the Brahmin also, he was serving the deity, so he also was peaceful. Yeah. And Krishna's Kaviraj, when he says it, he says that this Brahmin was respectable. He uses the word Arya, which means like a high-class person. He was actually he wasn't a low-class, rude person by nature, but he had this issue that philosophically couldn't accept Lord Nityananda. So Prabhupada writes, Miniketana Ramdas was a great devotee of Lord Nityananda. When he entered the house of Krishna's Kaviraj, Gunarnava Mishra, the priest who was worshipping the deity installed in the house, did not receive him very well. A similar event occurred when Ramaharshana Sutta was speaking to the great assembly of sages at Naimisharanya. Lord Baladev entered that great assembly, but since Ramaharsha was on the Vyasasan, he did not get down to offer respect to Lord Baladev. The behavior of Gunarnava Mishra indicated that he had no great respect for Lord Nityananda, and this idea was not at all palatable to Miniketana Ramdas. For this reason, the mentality of Miniketana Ramdas was never deprecated by devotees. Yeah, because see, if Miniketana Ramdas was thinking that, he didn't respect me, so therefore, I'm not happy, then that would be inappropriate, right? Because the devotee is not supposed to want respect for oneself. supposed to be amanina, manadena, right? Ready to offer all respect to others, but not expecting respect for oneself. But Krishna's Kaviraj knew that that was not the case. And devotees know that about Miniketan and Ramdas, so then his thinking is not deprecated. It was correct thinking. All right. Oh, we're not going to continue until Monday. So we're going to keep you all in suspense about this pastime. Sri Caitanya Charitamrita ki jai.
Jai.
Krishna's
Jai.
Kaviraj ki jai.
Jai.
The Prabhupada ki jai. Pragati's complaining here. We're not in the middle of the story. Well, incentive for you to be on time on Monday. All right,
Yeah,
Krishna.
fast.
Thank you all for coming.
Prabhupada Priya ki jai.
Yeah.